This is Fix and Flip. I am Shane Cook. Joe Cook is also on the call. He's my father and partner in starting up Fix and Flip. That's PHIXNPHLIP.com if you want to check us out online. This presentation will also be a blog eventually, and we've got lots of different links to the projects that we've started. We don't have one available right now. But we also keep as many updates as we can rolling through those different sources. So as Jamie gets this scrolling down, we're in the subscribers distribution summary for 3433 East Sells Drive. This was our first project, and we ended up with an annualized return of 16.7%. We'll walk you through how we got a little bit later. In general, our goal at Fix and Flip is to provide a 12 to 18% annualized return and to have periodic liquidity with a number of projects for the investors to choose from throughout the year. The picture you have on there is Sells Drive. That's a nice modern design. And then we ended up with the house. We're just going to quickly go through a summary of the offering, the project location, the design and construction summary, some of the people who helped us put it together, a summary of our project updates, and then we'll show you our marketing strategy, the distribution of the profit and yield through our P&L as well. So quickly, Arizona statutes recently opened up in 2015 to allow for real estate investment crowdfunding. Until recently, that wasn't really available to everybody. Now you can invest in one of these crowdfunding projects for as little as $1,000. We happen to do it in real estate, but you don't necessarily have to restrict your crowdfunding in the state of Arizona to real estate. If you're an accredited investor, that doesn't limit you from investing as well. It just says that unaccredited Arizona residents can invest anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000. So we use today's technology and the data-driven process to create as much transparency as we can with our projects and efficiently underwrite them like we're already doing. This allows our investors to diversify their capital and allows us to offer investors a share of the project. Like I said before, we attempt to reach a 12 to 18% annualized return and have the periodic liquidity. We started Sells Drive back in 2019 and offered over 600,000 individual secured participating preferred non-voting membership interests. That's a mouthful, but we tried to be pretty specific about what we were offering. And so then on May 22nd, we closed that offering. The offer was that we would pay anybody who participated in the crowdfunding a 6% preferred interest on their investment plus a 40% net profit share after the sponsor's participation, which was in this case $45,000. So the 6% preferred interest is the base part of the return, and then the profit share on this particular project, the 40% of the net profit share after the sponsored participation, added another 9.2% to the return. And that was about a 300-day project, so when we annualize that for 360 days, it's an annualized return on the investment of 16.76%. Like I said, we've referred to this project as Arcadia Light or Arcadia Light crowdfunding project number 1 a couple of times. So we bought this property through Coney Gould, like I said, from the Drums, Paula and George. And that's what it looked like there back in November of 2019, right after we bought it from them. And like I said before, we finished in 2020 in February, and on the bottom is the design that we came up with. We started with a 1958 house that needed completely redone. We weren't quite sure what we were going to do with it at first, and while assessing how to, what we wanted to do with it, we decided that a completely new project was really what we were going to go with. Even in the demo phase, we ended up tearing down more than we originally thought we would, and just ended up with mostly a new home. We left a fireplace and pieces of the foundation. Otherwise, pretty much everything else was replaced head to toe. We went with this clean, modern design when we were done, all the bells and whistles, and in the end, we sold it in a few weeks for over $400 a square foot. You can check out all kinds of videos on our YouTube Fix and Flip playlist, which is part of my real estate channel at SEV Living. you can Google either of those to find our YouTube playlist. And we've got lots of demolition videos and update videos and other kinds of stuff on there you can check out. Our design and construction summary. We worked with Gwen Butler at GTNJ Architecture to take care of all of our design work. She also took care of all of the work with the city, including working with our legal team for a variance that was really the city's fault that we had to apply for the variance in the first place. It's a long story, but it added time and expense to the project that we'll see down in the P&L as well. But we ended up with about a 2,200 square foot, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom modern design home like you see there. And you can find more 3D walkthrough videos of that house on the YouTube channel and Fix and Flip playlist as well. Our construction partners were Kevin Keller and Nicole Wheeler. Nicole is a fellow realtor at My Home Group, and they just did an amazing job. Adding on top of Gwen's spectacular design, they had some custom cabinetry items in here that were amazing, including hiding the pantry and a center island masterpiece that was more of an artistic piece than necessarily, a straight functional piece. It was also functional, but it had a very, very artistic design to it. And you can check out those new bid videos also on our YouTube channel at the Fix and Flip playlist. Here's a big list of them. Like I said, this will be a blog, so if you just check out the blog in a day or two, you can click on all of these links if that's easier for you. And like I said, our vlogs at our investment page is the same place, fixandflip.com, PHIXNPHLIP.com. So now we're going to, this is really, I suggest you look at it in more detail if you're interested, but it's kind of a snapshot of the analysis of the comps we did and how they evolved over time. Really in the beginning, we thought 270 to 340 a square foot was maybe where we were going to end up in a major remodel, not necessarily a tear down and a rebuild. But by the time we got done, and in December we were into the project pretty heavily, we were thinking, 330, 370. I might be able to push the price along there, but the 330 to 370 a square foot wasn't looking unreasonable. We follow the Cromford statistics for an analysis of the MLS data, and just looking at the comps and the Cromford statistics continued to allow us to push the price. So we pushed the price, I think if clear up to quite almost 420 a square foot when we listed, 948.8 when we listed. In 3 weeks, we got under contract to sell the property. We had to put a new garage door in. They wanted the garage door a panel taller and a foot wider so they could park their Sprinter in it. So in exchange for a little bit more in purchase price in the negotiation process, we ended up at 934. We had to, add this garage door in. We had a little bit of other construction to finish anyway, so we took care of all of that. And at 934, that was $406 a square foot. This isn't necessarily the top record setter in the zip code, but it's definitely pushing the average, and we definitely pushed our initial expectations there. So next week we roll in to our profit and loss statement. You can see, like I said, we sold it for $934. In this commissions and cost basis, closing cost area, this is both transactions, the purchase and the sale. So the closing costs and the commissions and the cost basis in the property come from the closing on both transactions. So all of our closing costs across both transactions and the original purchase basis is $381,150. It's us in at about $552,850. You can see our real estate taxes, our fees and permits, advertising and promotion, some bank service charges, the insurance expense, and the interest expense. I'm going to make a note right here on this interest expense. This includes the 6% base return, the preferred return to the investors. We treat that as an expense inside the transaction because it's a preferred return. So we treat it as though it comes out before any profit comes out anywhere. Also down there in the professional and fees, generally we wouldn't have that big legal number there where there was the variance we talked about. So we had to hire an outside legal team, figure out that if we could get the variance the way we wanted it and what our possibility was, whether it made sense or not, and do some slight changes in the drawings. So all of that added a little bit of time for the interest, as well as some of the architect, engineer, and other professional fees, as well as those legal fees. The monthly escrow and other professionals are just all other costs of that, of us getting the plans and or the submissions done. Then at the bottom, you can see the repair and maintenance and utilities. So we were off, obviously, over on the construction budget to our original estimate, not substantially, but a big part of that is some of the additional costs that came with the legal and the time from the interest from the variance. That was an additional 6 or 8 weeks in our transaction that wasn't really necessary. It was due to the mistake by the city, and they still forced us to go through the process. So then we keep scrolling down, and you can see where we have the profit participation and the sponsor fee that we're going to roll to the next page. Those are both parts of the total return. So on the next page, there you go, thanks. We got the $934,000 sales price and the bottom net profit of $92,394.37. That's what included some of these distributions that were shown above, the $45,000 to the sponsor, with the remaining $47,398.37. When you split that 60-40 and add it to the base yield, the $10,574 was the base yield percentage of that $50,000, $55,000 interest number above. That was the preferred return to the investors. And there you go, yep. And then the $18,959 is the interest percentage from the 40% above. That gets us to the 9.2% return for that portion and the 6% return for the previous portion, that when we combine them and calculate them out to 360-day year, they're a 16.76% annualized return. I think it was a 308-day actual return for the what would be a 15.2% return in 308 days, annualizes out to the 16.76% return on a 360-day year. So the total paid to the sponsors was just about $73,500, just under that, and the total paid to the interests in combined base yield and profit incentive was just under $30,000, $29,500. Like I said, I forgot that bottom part, yeah. Okay, so we often get the question, what does a $1,000 investment get me, or what does, $10,000 investment get me? So these are some of the actual investments in the project. Oh, oops, sorry. These are some of the to our live people. I just jacked that camera up. Sorry about that. Set that back in place. So the $1,000 investment got you $51 on the 6% base yield and $92 on the net profit yield, for a total, return of $141.37 in addition to your additional $1,000. So, almost $150. Or if you put in $10,000, almost, $1,500. Or if you happen to put in $80,000, then, almost $11,500 in return. Doesn't matter really which of those were, it still turns out to be a 16.76 annualized return on those funds.